It's a report on my observation during the 2019 Hong Kong protest. The main theme is that although we, with a broad brush, we say that Adolf Hitler is evil, but I want to say that not yet. We want to say a little bit more and see whether that's really the case. Because if we don't look back to what really happened, we might just ignore what's the reality. And these are the outline, 5 sections. And the introduction, so we go back to the time before the United Nations, before the Declaration, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the World War II, atrocity, Holocaust, but that was a time when war demonstrates some kind of animality. When, well, like in the jungle, animals prey and eat and conquer land, and that was those times. And afterwards, we want peace. We want peace for everyone. We want our human rights, and these are two way of doing things, right? And then there's the third kind of human beings that I want to highlight, which is evil, and they act out of hatred. So in terms of purpose, these are the videos. It's not taken by me. It's from the internet, and the man in with long hair, he is the victim, who is a protester against the extradition bill. And I want you to notice, while he's being held up, there's a female who went there who just kicked him. And she looks very satisfied. What I want to highlight is that it's strange because there's no point. The violence, there's no point, right? It's just to have a go. She went all the way just to have a go, and that kind of pointless suffering got me wondering what's behind the violence that's been committed. And now there's the protester in black who's been arrested by the police, and the people on the other side, that's what he did in front of the police. He violated the local law. Maybe he's venting his hatred, maybe it is for revenge. I'm trying to understand what it is for, right? So why would people do that? And these two big guys, they are supposed to be under the police custody, who's behind them. And these are the journalists who are filming them, and that's what they did, right? And if I were to venture to interpret what they are thinking, they're feeling, I think there's a general feeling that because there's those that are against the government who doesn't want the extradition bill, and there's those that are for it, so they think that the police protect them. So the power that be are on their side, so they pretend to be courageous. They want to show off that they have the power on their side. And lastly, to escalate from the Hong Kong level to the national level, there are these people who bring sticks onto the street and do that to typically young people, and even use the national flag. And this might get on the nerves of some people because I think they abuse patriotism, because they pretend to be doing all these things for the central government, for the Hong Kong government, because the protesters are against the government's policy. And I think whatever they're doing, it's just the violence that they did are for torture. And what I want to highlight is that whatever they do, it's in no one's interest, because even when we go back to the time before the United Nations and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, war, the military, it is for someone's interest. It is for the interest of the nation, the soldiers, and to conquer more land, and to own more land through violence. That's still for someone's interest. And yes, that's immoral because you disrespected someone, you didn't own the land, and you infringed the human rights to get the land. They are immoral. But there's something even worse, which is like the Geneva Conventions prohibit torture, and the kind of sadism that's only to inflict suffering for its own sake, without any purpose, not in anyone's interest, not to get others' possession, but just to have a go, to inflict suffering. And if these indicate what evils are, another symptom of evil is that whatever they do, they never own up. They will pretend that they represent the Hong Kong police, they pretend that they represent the central government, but they would never say that they are doing this for themselves. So yes, they disrespect others like the military, but I hypothesize they do that out of self-disrespect. And a little controversially, even soldiers, however evil you think they are, they might be not doing that out of self-disrespect. They are doing that as a soldier. So if evil is the way I think it is, I also hypothesize that their psychology is out of envy. So suppose I've owned a car, and it belongs to someone that is not my friend, and I am envious of him having that luxurious car, and I scratch it. So out of envy, no good is done. It's only harm because the car is scratched and there's no good produced. For evil to act in a so-called self-interest, it's not good for the society. So it's wrong not only in terms of right and this cert-based morality, it's also wrong economically, because for them to act on their so-called self-interest, people suffer and there's no good done. And with that, having distinguished what I call evil, I hope to understand conservatism. I hope you don't mind, because I would have a liberal theory of conservatism, which of course would have a the liberals at the center. But at least conservatism, I think they would have the partiality without hatred. So maybe for them, family and friends are first. You're a shopkeeper. You have a shop. You don't want too much immigrants and refugees, because you don't want to lose your business. And family first, friends first, and even America first, right? They may say those things, but those people, they might be partial without hating those outside their social circle. They could be, and even to push it a little further, if not helping the refugees, like the Syrian refugees, if it is immoral, we could have helped them, the unfortunate, but we didn't. And if that's immoral, that's a kind of immorality without being evil. That's what I want to say, because you didn't help them. Yes, that's immoral, but you didn't actively inflict suffering on them. So there's a difference between these two things. So with having distinguished evil, I want to understand conservatism, and especially given the right-wing populist politics that's been going on. Oh, okay, and even to go even further, if fascism, that's an interpretation of fascism. If it is simply an ethics of strength, it is, if you won, if you're in power, then yeah, you might is right. You can oppress other people. You're justified to do that. If domination is justified by having achieved the win, then it's only on equality of a fair fight that when you lost, you will be submissive. And that kind of, well, fascism is a bad name, but that kind of saluting the rank mentality differs from a kind that's acting out on privilege. Okay, so Eric Fromm, he talks about compensatory violence to compensate for the incompetence, and this is in line with my hypothesis about self-disrespect. Okay, so a very short note that I want to highlight, because my time is up. There's a difference between what seems to be anger and hatred, but for those that act on righteousness, they will own up to what they do. But those that just hate beautiful people leading beautiful life, they don't. So these are the observations that I made. So thank you very much.